My GF, 28F, feels like her friends don't care about her. I, 23M, see it differently. My so and I have been under lockdown effectively since March. Her father is going through chemotherapy and is highly immune compromised, so we've been doing our part to stay distant from most people, and if we have social interaction it's either outdoors or with a 2-week break from her seeing her dad after. For the first 4 or 5 months of quarantine, she wasn't willing to see anybody. That 2-week rule is a new thing. Now, her friends are in less risky situations and have been able to have small get-togethers and trips up to vacation homes and stuff. My so was invited to these at the beginning but declined because if you're partying and drinking there's no way everyone will be distant. She got lots of invites to stuff. Friends dropped stuff off at the apartment for her, and they seemed to be making an effort. However, the pandemic hasn't gone away, and I think after a little while they felt bad about inviting her to things she can't attend, and have gone on a few trips without telling my so anything. I saw this as a clumsy way of trying to spare feelings/awkwardness. She sees it as a complete lack of care and betrayal from her friend group. Obviously if you feel that way, you're gonna get pretty upset. Last night, after finding out about a trip from a few weeks ago, she has decided that none of them care about her and that she doesn't have any friends anymore and that they all suck. I told her her friends do care about her, but she wasn't having it. I'm just surprised at the complete lack of benefit of the doubt she's giving, because even her friend who spilled the beans said, "I'm sorry we didn't invite you. We were all drinking and up each other's asses the whole time and I know you can't do that." Which would seem fair enough to me. I know why she's upset, but writing them off entirely is too much. Too long didn't read. Girlfriend feels abandoned by friends, but I think they were just trying to spare her feelings. Edit, this conversation was honestly like a big old warm Reddit hug. I'm gonna keep talking with you guys, but thank you all so much, seriously. Pandemic depression is real, especially for more extroverted types who need interactions with their friends to keep their mental health up. Couple that with a dad who is dealing with a life-threatening health issue, and it isn't really surprising she's not doing too well. Compassion fatigue is real too. I've got cancer, and while I am doing really good now, there was a time when I was pretty much incapable of doing anything due to chemo. My friends were great, and still are, but I noticed a major drop-off in people helping after a couple months, which is completely understandable. I'm not their partner or child and they are not professional caregivers. So it makes sense her friends were highly motivated at first, but have pulled back as the months have dragged on. Assuming her friends are decent people, I would maybe just tell them that while you understand why they are not inviting her, she is having a hard time. Being invited and kept in the loop, even if she can't go, makes her still feel like part of the group, as does the occasional drop-off or extra socially distant hangout. Have they reached out and offered other ways to hang out? Virtual gaming, meetups, etc. I have an uncle going through chemo and it is hard normally, but in a pandemic the stress is exacerbated. I can see how she feels abandoned. If these folks are people she would look to for support or empathy, and she's not getting it, that's hard. Maybe you could do some problem solving here and try to arrange a get-together virtually or socially distanced. But if she's not already, I highly recommend therapy to your GF. She needs someone outside her day-to-day life to talk to and give support. Absolutely. She actually found out this new information while hanging out outside with friends, who reached out and made the effort to see her. So I get the feeling of being left out, but I feel like it ignored what was right in front of her. Virtual hangs were more of a thing at the beginning of quarantine. All her friends are back to work / some semblance of normal life now, so it got harder to arrange. Does your GF have any anxiety / panic issues? It's super common in those disorders to convince yourself the people you love don't care about you. The stress of the situation might just be getting to her and she is looking for someone to be angry at. Just let it go for now and be sympathetic. Is this a pattern for her though? Does she easily get upset or feel victimized by people under normal circumstances? Absolutely. I've learned that when she, or anyone, really, is running hot or is upset, sometimes it's best just to be available and that's enough. It is a pattern, though. I know it's a stressful time in her life, but that stress turns into negative feelings and anger, which turns into picking fights, which doesn't help either of us. I guess she sees it like they didn't even invite her / extend the offer even though they know she likely won't go. So it's like they are excluding her. Would she feel comfortable having them over for an evening outside on the porch / deck / backyard, or at least a couple hours so she can feel included in her friend group for once since lockdown? She can wear a mask and sit distanced a bit for her comfort. Her friends could wear masks too. You're right, but here's the thing, she found this information out last night from friends who rearranged their schedules to hang out with us outside. Right in front of us there were people making the effort to spend time with her. Also, at the beginning of all this she was frustrated about getting all these invites that she kept saying no to. Maybe she's forgotten, but it did literally make her feel uncomfortable at the time. Her dog died back in June and her friends dropped off a card and a bottle of wine. They do care and I've seen it. I, 35F, am struggling with my boyfriend's, 31M, slack job hunting and I'm worried about our future. My, 35F, boyfriend, 31M, and I have been together for a year, moved in together 2 weeks ago. When we first met, he was working in a cafe with a master's degree in sustainable energy, environmentalist, hubba, and an undergrad in chemical engineering. He told me that he was really disheartened with job hunting, that he tried to get a job for ages after his master's and that he was unsuccessful. He felt it was because he is introverted and awkward in interviews and because English is his second language and he never met the strong communication skills component of the roles. Sustainable energy is not a massive industry where we live, and the roles are largely consulting, which does not suit him at all. So to me, it looked like it was a bad match from the get-go. Fast forward to COVID, he loses his hospitality job. We go into lockdown and he decides to do a 3-month software engineering intensive course with a well-known training provider, who has a reputation of getting virtually all of their grads to work. He loves it, he does well, and he finished in early August. He was paired up with a job coach who helped him with his CV/resume and LinkedIn profile, and even got connected with the industry. His homework was, apply to 10 jobs a week. 2 weeks in he hadn't done almost anything, saying he was paralyzed by his lack of confidence and bad experience in the past. He had saved jobs, many of which did not match, different cities, mid-senior level roles, which baffled me. At least he hadn't wasted time applying to any. I sat with him, reviewed and improved his profile. I actually love this stuff, and helped him apply to 8 jobs in the one day. I gave him cover letter templates and the lot, some clear guidance on how to keep on track. I also recommended he speak to a psych about his anxiety and discuss medication options with his doctor if he's struggling this much. Tough times. He did both, which I'm proud of him for, and I left him to it. A month later he's really down, telling me his peers are getting jobs and he is not. I ask him how many roles he has applied for, and he tells me 4 in 4 weeks. Dish out some tough love and tell him people don't give away jobs. You have to hustle, and 4 is not 40, and he is self-sabotaging if he keeps avoiding it like this. Note, a $15,000 loan for his course is commencing mandatory payment in November. So he hears me and starts applying for more, and has been consistent now for a few weeks, doing well actually, and starts getting interviews, imagine. So now, we are at the interview stage. I've heard him, thanks COVID working from home, and I know there are areas he has to work on. I have hired dozens of people so I have learned a lot. I make suggestions to him on preparing tactics, and literally every time, and I mean every time, he just crumbles and says he hates it and it's too much and I am stressing him out. Or he goes silent. I managed to sit with him and help him write down common questions and answers for a graduate developer, which seemed to be more painful to him than a lobotomy. This week, he had an interview on Wednesday afternoon and he confides in me Tuesday night that he's feeling really anxious about it and that he just wants a job already and he's afraid he will never get one, while he's sitting on the couch playing video games. FML. I am really frustrated by this point, and I basically tell him that action is the antidote to anxiety and maybe he should spend some time preparing. I offer to sit with him and dry run. I remind him of all the other prep that helps. He goes silent. I, admittedly, harshly, repeat my hustle comments from conversation past. If you want it, mate, you have to frickin' work for it. He gets mad at me and goes quiet for the rest of the day. This is our first real fight, TBH. At the end of the day, he tells me what he needed at that moment was reassurance and comfort, not criticism. He tells me he's not like me and my friends with practicing in front of the mirror, etc. I apologize and say I'll work harder to be supportive in the way he needs. He gives me an overview of the interview, says it went well, summarizes what he said, and there was one thing that he said which was not a good answer and it killed me to hear it. If I was on a panel and someone said it, there is no way I'd hire them. I'm stumped, people, and I need some guidance. Do I keep it up with the tough love, or let him learn it for himself? I'm afraid the latter is going to be a major challenge for our relationship, and what I haven't said in this post is that he's an amazingly loving, kind and wonderful person, and I really love him. We are a really good match in a lot of ways. I just don't want this to become a bigger issue than it already is. Add-on, I should also mention, I am doing well financially and I have been covering quite a bit of spending since COVID began. Multiple times he has joked about just being a house husband while I go to work, which I was clear doesn't work for me. I sometimes feel like it's maybe easier for him to avoid the work when he has my financial support. Add on to, I forgot to mention, the first time I got him to sit down to apply to jobs, he vomited for like 20 minutes. His anxiety around the whole process was that bad. So for those saying he's just being lazy, it's not. He steps up in other areas if/when we need to talk about them. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend is avoidant on all manners of job hunting despite being very capable, and is self-sabotaging his chances to get into a career he will be great at because he is anxious about it and hates the work required to apply for jobs and prepare interviews. I'm struggling to watch him self-sabotage and need to know, do I continue pushing him and telling him the hard truths? Or do I leave him to learn his lesson on his own even though it may become a wedge in our otherwise amazing relationship? Edit, add-ons and a few small other details. Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate the perspectives and suggestions brought to this issue. Many of you have been considerate of both my boyfriend's needs and my own, and your suggestions and advice have given me the insight I need to work on myself, my relationship and my needs in a partner. To all of you who have shared your own stories of anxiety/doubt/shame, thank you for being brave. To the rest of you people who just shared your judgments without answering my specific question with comments like he's a giant baby, just dump him, he's a loser, a leech, etc. You're tone deaf and you're not following the spirit and guidelines of this subreddit. Also, all you've done is remind me how wonderful my boyfriend is, because he isn't a judgmental cynical jerk. So thanks, smile. I hear what you're saying here, and all of it's true. But what I hear is a person paralyzed by fear. So paralyzed they're unable to take the first step. If he hadn't gone to college, and hadn't taken the software engineering course, I'd say maybe he's lazy. But this isn't that. This is someone suffering mightily. He needs help, badly. Now this isn't technically your problem. But if you do love him, and want to help him get better, then get him into some very badly needed therapy. I, 17F, don't like my stepmom, 52F, and I need to fix that. When I was 12 my mother passed away from complications of the flu. My dad, 54M, was left with 4 kids to raise on his own. I am the oldest and my younger siblings are currently 8F, 9M, and 10M. They were 3, 4, and 5 at the time. My dad was overwhelmed and very busy after it happened, and because I was the oldest and was the only one who understood what was going on, I stepped up. It has been my job since to make sure the younger ones got out of bed on time, make sure they ate breakfast, make sure they were ready to go to the bus stop on time, help my sister with her hair in the morning, make sure there was something on the table for the little ones to eat if my dad couldn't make it home for dinner, make sure they're in bed at their bedtimes, etc. I never felt bad for what I had to do. I always felt like I was doing my part in the new family unit to keep everything running. I didn't think anything of it. I was doing what needed to be done. I was still allowed a social life and got time with friends outside of school when I wanted to. Obviously, I just had more responsibility. My dad first started dating my stepmom 3 years ago and they have been together since. My dad asked us kids if we would be okay with him dating, and we all gladly gave our permission because he deserved to be happy again. They got engaged last winter and got married at the beginning of the summer, with our blessing. After they were married, she officially moved in and I've hardly been able to stand her even though I used to like her. She has stepped in and started helping out on all my household duties and managing the younger ones. When I wake up for school in the morning, I come downstairs now to see that she has already gotten the little ones out of bed and has breakfast on the table. I haven't had to make anyone a single meal. No more driving my siblings to their friends' houses. I know she is trying to be helpful and I am happy that I'll be able to go away to college next year knowing that my siblings will be taken care of. But I feel like my toes are being stepped on and my position in the family is being taken away from me and it makes me detest her. On top of that, seeing her make herself at home in the bedroom my mom and dad once shared and drink coffee from mugs I remember my mom using makes my blood boil. I make a point to spend as little time around her as possible. Since she's moved in, I've been cold and oftentimes cruel to her. I know I can't detest her forever, she is my stepmom after all and she's not going anywhere. What makes the situation more infuriating is I know I'm being irrational. She's a kind woman who treats my dad and siblings well. I have no reason to dislike her as much as I do. I've tried to force myself to like her but it won't work. Is there anything I can do to try and get over this intense dislike of her? Too long didn't read. I have an intense, irrational dislike of my stepmom and I know I need to get over it. I don't know how to go about doing that, though.